Hi guys, it's Jessica here from Outreach Worldwide. So, just a quick update on a few key issues. So there's a lot going on right now about the Human Rights Act and human rights reform. So just to give you guys some context, for the last 10 years, the Conservative government has sought to repeal the Human Rights Act and have put in many appeals to try and do this. Preeti Patel's personally tried to do this for many years now. And how they've done this is by basically making out that human rights are a pain and how human rights are, not really doing what they're supposed to do. So really trying to weaken the public's perception of basic human rights. So what's happening now is last year, the government decided to look into human rights and to do some investigations, and that has basically all solidified into them trying to create a Bill of Rights. So a Bill of Rights, it sounds good, it sounds great, but it's not. So the Human Rights Act is our domestic legislation, and that is because we are a party to and a signatory to the European Convention on Human Rights. And you may hear lots of things about that, but that is a good thing. And that basically strengthens our human rights. So what the government wants to do is to get rid of the Human Rights Act, so we're no longer a signatory to the European Convention on Human Rights, and it wants to replace it with a Bill of Rights. Now, this Bill of Rights will weaken our ability to take the state to court, meaning we will need a judge's approval before being able to do this. Now, that is undemocratic and isn't right. Now, when it comes to human rights, a lot of the rights in the Human Rights Act and in the European Convention of Human Rights, they're what you call qualified rights. So that means that during a emergency powers or a health crisis, they can be paused, which basically means, in essence, you don't have any rights. Just like we saw during the lockdown, the right to protest can basically be taken away under certain conditions. So these qualified rights, although qualified, do need to stay. We know as free sovereign beings we have inalienable rights. But the Human Rights Act is important, and a Bill of Rights might sound good, but it is a bad thing. It's not a good thing. So that has been going on for a little while, and what we can do about it is we can raise awareness, we can fill out the consultation, and we can tell everybody we know about it. Now, some good news. So there was major wins for the policing bill. So just a bit of an update on that. 14 of some of the most draconian bits of the legislation, such as creating new offences such as locking on, creating protest-style ASBOs, banning individuals from protesting, stopping protests because of noise levels, suspicionless stop and search. That's all been scrapped. The Lords rejected these in a major blow to the government, which was absolutely amazing. And that is what groups working together can do outside and inside the movement. However, one major damaging piece of legislation to the traveller community of criminalising trespassing, essentially criminalising a traveller way of life, is still in the bill and hasn't been voted out, and it must be voted out. So that's the issue there. So we can't rest. We have to keep vigilant. And there's also a new piece of legislation. So as the Lords were in the House of Lords, shooting down the government and saying, no, these amendments have got to go. Oh my gosh, that's how excited I am about this. Sorry, guys. While they were doing that, the government passed a new law, an elections bill, which means it passed in 2 hours in the House of Commons, which means in order to vote, You have to have ID. You have to have a voter's registration card. And that has been passed. And that is going to disenfranchise so many people, because right now you register to vote, it's easy to vote. But having the card is going to stop millions of people from actually voting. So we're seeing a constant barrage of the government trying to weaken mechanisms and defences, and trying to basically weaken democracy. So a lot is going on, but we have to celebrate the wins and we have to be vigilant, because we always need to be able to hold the government to account. Human rights are important and our rights are inalienable. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights sets out numerous rights which are inalienable and cannot be taken away by any government. The Human Rights Act is important and we need to save these rights. So guys, that's just a bit about everything that's going on right now. I hope this video was informative.